because of my ethnicity, because of my skin color. And this is in spite of the fact that I come from a country who are guilty for some of the worst colonial crimes ever inflicted throughout human history. That's right, I was born in Great Britain. And without doubt, the British and the French committed the greatest atrocities across the continent of Africa. The Belgians have a good claim for the greatest atrocity in their treatment of the Congolese, but if one looks at it as an entity and the number of countries that were invaded by the British and French colonialists, one will see that they are the worst protagonists. Despite this, and despite the behavior of my ancestors.
Now, there's a particular parable that gets me very, very excited, and it's a very thought-provoking parable that is very, very much relatable with the video I'm about to represent to you. Now, the parable is called the parable of the blind man and the elephant. What an interesting thing. How huge is the elephant? So this parable illustrates how people's perception can be limited by their perspective. Your perception can be limited by your perspective, right? It can also be used to show how people of different perspectives can lead to conflict and miscommunication. What does this parable illustrate? First of all, just think of an elephant and then think of a blind person. Think of them as maybe six blind people, and with one huge elephant. The blind people do not have perception of the real world. The perception they have is through hearing, smell. Okay, they have the other senses apart from the sight. That is what they don't have. But it doesn't mean that they don't have a vision. Vision is very different from sight. Vision does not require optics, Now, what is this parable about? The parable I'm about to share with you. It's about subjective experience. The parable shows us that subjective experience can be true, but they are limited because they don't account for other truths. Here is where I can bring out the arguments of René Descartes. A tire is not greater than the car. A tire is part of the car, but it's not greater than the car. A tire itself is useless, but it's very useful if it's where it should be. If it is in its totality of reality. Yeah. So subjective experience can be true and it can also be false because it is limited. We also have what is called relative truth. This parable of the elephant and the 6 blind men shows that truth is relative to one's perspective and that people should respect the opinions of others. Yes, I will respect your opinion as long as you respect mine. The third thing we can learn from this parable is a concept called miscommunication. The parable shows how people's perception can lead to miscommunication and conflict. Yeah, your perception sometimes can lead to miscommunication and conflict. Yeah. Another thing is religious pluralism. The parable can illustrate the idea that no religion has monopoly on truth, and that all religions are equally valid. What does it teach? It teaches the need for deeper understanding. It teaches the importance of respecting different perspectives. It teaches us the importance of gathering data from different perspectives to make better decisions. Now, the parable of the elephant and the 6 blind men is a parable about an individual who is a monk went to 6 blind men and he brought an elephant to them. We have a lot of elephants in the Hindu religion in India, particularly the north of India. We have a lot of elephants. So he brought the elephant to the blind men and he told the blind men, go and touch, Now, the blind man touched the thigh. He felt, so this is the elephant. He touched the elephant's thigh. Another blind man went and touched the ear. Oh, this is the elephant. It has very fluffy ears. Another one went and touched at the testicles. Oh, these are the this is the elephant. It has testicles. Another one went and touched at the tail. Now, when they were asked, what is an elephant? They gave different answers. But different answers were true. Yeah. But no singular answer was true from another. And not every answer was complete truth. This is why we get the thing which we call relative perspective. You know, a person can say, oh, I went and talked to that guy. He seems this and that. But you just went and talked to him once, just once. Do you think how long that person has lived on earth and the time you took talking to him is equivalent? No, it can't be equivalent. There's more to people. There's more to a country. There's more to a culture. There's more to a tradition than we can perceive. You know, we have white men living in Africa. We have white men who have heard about Africa. We have Africans who've lived in Africa. We have Africans who've heard about Europe. We also have Black Americans who have lived in Africa. And we also have Black Americans who've heard about Africa. Perspectivism, right? Now, there is a white man who lives in South Africa, I believe. He tells us that he's lived in 5 different African countries. And there is something he has discovered, something which is very nasty about Africa. And if we ask an Africans if what this white man is saying is true, Africans will give different answers. Partiality is not entirety. You know, a white man is claiming Africa is a bad continent. He is claiming Africa has this set of problems. He's claiming Africa is this and that. He complains a lot, you know. He's like one of those blind men. He touched the testicles. To him, the testicle is the whole elephant. Yeah? Now, I want us to watch this video. Listen to this white man. I shall get back, and we shall also have a deep, critical analysis. Let's dive in.
I've lived in 5 different countries in Africa. I've lived in Malawi, Botswana, Zambia, Morocco, and Nigeria. I have also travelled extensively in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Egypt. Never once in all my years of living or travelling on the African continent have I been mistreated in any way because of my ethnicity, because of my skin colour. And this is in spite of the fact that I come from a country who are guilty for some of the worst colonial crimes ever inflicted throughout human history. That's right, I was born in Great Britain. And without doubt, the British and the French committed the greatest atrocities across the continent of Africa. The Belgians have a good claim for the greatest atrocity in their treatment of the Congolese, but if one looks at it as an entity and the number of countries that were invaded by the British and French colonialists, one will see that they are the worst protagonists. Despite this, and despite the behavior of my ancestors, I have never been mistreated. In fact, I have been welcomed warmly in all of the countries I have lived in or visited. And when in Africa, I don't cocoon myself in some enclave dome which is inhabited by people who like to refer to themselves as expats. I hate that term. But no, I integrate as much as possible within local society. I will go to a shebeen. I will go to any compound and experience life as it is for people in the country where I am based. So whether that's in the village, whether it's in the township, whether it's in the local bar, I will integrate, I will mix, and I am always made welcome. Now contrast that with the way many Africans are treated when they choose to live in the United Kingdom or France or other parts of Europe. The difference is incredible. The everyday racism experienced by African people on the European continent is a crime against humanity. Now, there are different types of racism. The most obvious is the day-to-day experience that an African will have whilst living in parts of Europe. The name calling, the staring, the subtle discrimination. And for many Africans, they will just brush it off because it is so common that they just get used to it, sadly. Worse, though, is the institutional and structural racism that Africans have to abide with. The restrictions on their movements, the fact that most passports emulating from the African continent will only allow Africans to travel visa-free to a handful of countries. And most of those will be other African countries or countries in the Caribbean. And moreover, the difficulty that Africans have finding work in Europe is unimaginable. People who are qualified as doctors, accountants, lawyers, university lecturers, nurses, teachers do not have their qualifications and experiences recognized by most European countries. I know many people from Africa working in various parts of Europe as security guards or as care assistants when back home they had highly skilled professional jobs. But that experience is rarely recognized when they come to Europe unless they come as part of a transfer with an existing company. But if they come because they've migrated to Europe, their chances of accessing the sort of job which they are eminently capable of is slim. Now, if a black person was making this video, they would be quickly dismissed. They'd be dismissed as having an axe to grind or always trying to find problems. And again, that's part of racism. The fact that I can speak because of my white privilege means that I have a duty to do so. Not because I'm married to an African woman or because I have many African friends, but because I like to think I'm a decent human being who appreciates the value in every person on our planet.
You know, whatever this man has said, the white individual, he has traveled decently in Africa, and he has said nowhere in Africa has he been treated badly. But my question is one, remember back to the parable of the elephant and the 6 blind men. I myself have traveled in my own country and have been treated badly by fellow Africans. In fact, they treated me badly once they saw a white person. Yeah? When a black person sees a white person, they seem like they are walking with God. They seem like they are walking with some angelic beings. No. No, 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 no. The perspective the gentleman is giving is his own. It's the truth from his own accord and account. You know, he has said Africa is good. I love that. And we also heard from the other one who said Africa is all this bad and all that, you know. But come to think of it, do you think Africans are behaving intentionally? Are they doing this by choice, or are they doing it because somewhere inside their brain, you know, they are being squeezed, you know, something is pushing them to act that way? And if they had the choice, or rather, if this white person magically turned into a black person, would they get the same treatment? They wouldn't get the same treatment, because an African is very wicked to an African. That's why I'm saying this. The experience the brother is having is his own perspective, but his perspective is not the entire truth. We cannot dismiss his perspective, you know. Africans, we are so much welcoming. That's true. We have the spirit of Ubuntu. We like people. We like love. We like eating together. We come and eat together, not because our homes there is no food. We come and share bonfire together, not because our homes we don't have firewood, but because of the spirit of Ubuntu. The spirit of Ubuntu is a spirit of togetherness, is a spirit of African working together. You know, that one I agree. Now, he's saddened. You can tell from his voice and his words, of course, he's saddened. One thing I normally use to evaluate the truthfulness of one statement is the tone in the voice they speak. I might say, oh, Africa is good, but you can hear the tone which they are using is not quite correct with the words they are matching, you know. So Africans have this perspective that Europe is gold. Europe is the land of honey and milk, you know. But is it really? I think Europe is a land of thorns and fire and snails and snakes. That is what it is, metaphorically, you know. Africans are not valued as much as Africans value black people here. Now, my question is always, to those Africans who go beyond and do all that, are they doing it out of the spirit of Ubuntu, or are they doing it just because they want to impress the white person? We can only know that by bringing a black person to the same person. We can then evaluate how they treat this black person, who is most likely should be a native, and how they treat this foreigner. Is it matching? Is it in alignment? There we can rule out if it is Ubuntu or if it's not Ubuntu. You know? Now, I'm not saying that we should judge wrong with wrong. No. Because two wrongs don't make a right. It will never make right. It will continue a spiral of wrongdoings, a chain which will never end, you know. Listening to the brother, listening to him speak about his experience in Africa, I'm overjoyed. It reminds me of my younger days when I was a child, you know. We used to see white people, they would come and we would shout, Mzungu, Mzungu, and we would say, how are you? How are you? That's the only English words we knew. How are you? The three words. Back then in the 90s, when we were still children. Today is still the same thing. They had the perspective of, it was put to us by our parents. It was put to our parents by their grandparents. These people are superior. These people are superior. While instead, inventions, traditions, technology, civilizations started here in Africa. We don't know how great we are as black people. God did not make Africans as some weak creatures, as creatures who need other races in order for them to survive. No, we had the richest man in Africa, in the whole world, come from Africa, Mansa Musa, all the way from Mali. This man would pour gold on his way in his pilgrimage to Mecca. Muslims go to Mecca each year to worship. So while going there, he would pour gold coins on the road. Gold is not cheap. So, do you think this white man is entirely true? Or do you think the Africans are lying to him? This might be true. Maybe I might be one of the blind men, or maybe you might be one of the blind men. But if we come together and put ourselves together, you touched the testicles, I touched the ears, the other one touched the legs. If we come together and share what we touched, then we can construct the image of an elephant. Yeah. In the totality of reality, everything will make sense. Yeah. This is EFK Original Documentaries. I hope you get value from what I do. And if you get value from what I do, subscribe. I'll so much appreciate. Yeah. And see you in the next one.